Welcome, everyone. So this is our Ask the Expert session for all things Java on Azure. And of course, I have the privilege of a really good set of panelists today speaking with us. Just by way of introduction for myself, my name is Reza Rahman. I'm Principal Program Manager for Java on Azure. Basically, I work on some of the stuff we'll be talking about more on the Jakarta Java EE side, if you will, but in general, essentially overall Java on Azure. So with that, I'm going to basically do a quick round of introductions. And before I do that, I'll point out to folks that are online, if you look at the published section of the Q&A, you'll see there is a bunch of preceded questions that I added a bit later. This is just to get our conversation started. I'm going to be monitoring your questions also, so do feel free to vote on those questions if you like a particular question there. And of course, definitely encourage you to enter your own questions. Ideally, that's what we want to be doing. So, okay, I'll give you a bit of time to think about that and look through those questions. And in the meanwhile, let's just do a quick round of introductions. So, Jason, do you mind getting started?
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Freeberg. I'm a product manager on Azure App Service. So I work on all of our Java offers on that platform, namely the Java SE, Tomcat, and the Red Hat JBoss EAP offers.
All right. What about Oscar? You next. I don't see you on camera yet, but I think we can still hear you. So you want to do a quick introduction, Oscar?
Oh, I don't know why not on camera. That's interesting. Okay, I did turn on the camera, but it looks like it's not there. That's okay. I'm Master at Microsoft. I'm on point for everything developers need to build, migrate, and scale Java apps on Azure. I'm also a Java dev. I started in 1995 with JDK1. I've been having a lot of fun with Java ever since.
Alrighty, and what about you next, James?
Yeah, thanks, Reza, and thanks for having me. So I'm James Faulkner. I run product and technical marketing for Red Hat, our application app dev suite of Java products, including our traditional runtimes like JBoss EAP, as well as our new frameworks like Quarkus, and some other ancillary products at Red Hat. So happy to be here.
Excellent, and definitely last but not least, Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace, an engineering manager at VMware, I work on the Azure Spring Apps team, so we help bring the VMware side of that offering to life, and we work with the Microsoft engineering team in parallel, which is fun work. So
excellent. So I do see Ed is not on the slides yet, but I do see him on camera. Ed, do you want to briefly introduce?
Sure, I'll just give a quick verb. My name's Ed Burns. I work with Reza on Java EE on Azure, and have a lot of experience with Java EE and the specification side of things.
All right, excellent. So we don't have a ton of time. We have just about half hours, and it looks like we already have some questions coming in. So I'm going to give priority to the questions that come in as opposed to the questions that I've sort of preceded. So why don't we get started with that? So I'll read off the questions, and I'll sort of point out who I think is a logical person to answer it. So first question is, my understanding is that clustering support for JBoss EAP is in public preview. When it will be GA? Jason, I think this is for you.
Yeah, so that's correct. The clustering support for JBoss on App Service is currently in public preview. It's under active development right now. We're working on some of the explicit guidance for some more advanced scenarios, like using clustering across availability zones, high availability scenarios like that. I can't speak to a date when it will become generally available, but we're working hard and we're working towards getting that into a GA ready state.
All right. If I was really good at typing, I'd say this. I'd type this in our private chat. Also, mind taking the share screen off so that we can see the speaker on the big screen.
Yeah, so with that, took it off. Yeah.
Alrighty. So next question is a bit technical, but I'll ask it. I'll post it regardless, and maybe we can figure this out. So the question is, for JBoss EAP clustering support, I have taken a look at the simple ARM template to deploy the sample clustered JBoss demo. Is the capacity, say 3, is what driving this new feature of multiple instances? I think this is definitely you, Jason, if you can answer that. I can't quite tell if this is the ARM template for VMs. I don't think so, I think this is
No,
correct.
yeah, I believe they're referring to the GitHub sample that we put up on the Azure Samples organization. So in that ARM template, exactly right, it'll deploy a JBoss EAP web app and it'll scale out horizontally to 3 instances. That's just used for demonstration's sake. It could be 20 instances, it could be 5. The key is that when you're scaled out horizontally, that's what gives you the cluster, right? You need to have a cluster, you need to have 2 or more instances. And exactly that. Once you're scaled out horizontally, then our management plane will boot up JBoss EAP with that clustered profile. And then from there, it'll use the file ping JGroups discovery protocol under the hood. And there will be a configuration file on the shared file system across those instances. And then they'll start communicating over the virtual network. So the requirements are that you have JBoss EAP deployed into a virtual network on app service, and then you scale out horizontally to multiple instances. And once those 2 criteria are satisfied, then by default, we'll boot JBoss EAP into a clustered configuration. And you can disable that. It's a quick app setting. If you don't want to use clustered and you do want a VNet and multiple instances, you can also disable clustering.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add, Jason, is after it's created, if you scale out or scale in, right, they still remain clustered. New cluster members are added and removed dynamically. So you're not fixed at the time of creation.
Right, so next question is, I hope somebody knows the answer to this, but honestly, I really don't. So WMI metrics available via your Azure monitor. RAM usage by process, CPU load by process. I hope somebody knows what WMI stands for.
So I believe the person who asked the question is asking about the Windows OS level metrics. So if that is WMI stands for, so if that is the case, then it applies to app servers Windows and virtual machines where you're running Windows as the operating system, right? So hopefully we understood the question correctly, right? So if you understood the question correctly, then certainly for the Linux Windows virtual machine scenario, you can use the agent that we have supplied, and that agent will pick up many of the metrics that you are talking about. Now, on to the same question on app servers Windows. Jason, do you know whether we pump in the OS level metrics into Azure Monitor?
Yeah, it looks like they specify RAM usage and CPU by process. So those types of metrics we do plumb through. I'm going to grab a quick link to some documentation that this user might be interested in seeing, and I'll put that in the chat there.
So regardless of what operating system you use, particularly for metrics like CPU or RAM, those are like basic metrics. They're always pumped in through the Azure Monitor, so it should be available to you. Whether you're using Linux or Windows, it does not matter.
All right, we have more app service questions, but I think in order to keep things a little bit balanced, I'm going to switch over to one of my canned questions, so that everybody has a fair chance to sort of participate. So, okay, here's a question. When do I choose the enterprise tier for Azure Spring Apps? How about you, Candace? You want to give that a try?
You're going to choose it when you want more, more gateway, more when you want an API portal, when you want things other than just Spring Boot, when you want your Node app to run alongside. So there's many little, and all the other stuff we're building in too. If you're running a gateway, you get Spring Cloud Gateway, you get SSO. That's so easy on this. That's one of the things I will say. Asser, I know you have more, so.
I can add a little more. So one of the things that our customers ask us is they have plenty of Spring Boot apps on-prem, and they want to come to Azure and they want to have a scale motion where they can quickly rush it through as opposed to deploy slowly, right? So this is where the Azure Spring Apps Enterprise gives you more productivity. You can ship faster. Ship faster in the sense, for example, you can configure single sign-on. You don't have to write any code, right? for routing your apps and hiding the complexity behind, addressing the cross-cutting consideration, you don't have to write code and deploy. Simply configure the managed Spring Cloud gateway, right? So now when you are deploying, as Candice was explaining, if you want to deploy like Node.js apps alongside your Spring Boot apps, in the standard, you can build your own containers and build the Docker file, configure it, and deploy it. At that point, you're on point for building and managing those container images. But when you come to Azure Spring Apps Enterprise, you simply just configure and just deploy, right? So this way, yeah, exactly. So you ship faster, you are more productive, and as Candice was talking about, you also get Spring runtime support. So let's say you run into a problem with Spring Boot or Spring Data JBA. VMware is right there for you 24/7. Just open a ticket and they'll come and help you. So ship faster, unlock the full potential. That's what Spring Apps Enterprise will bring.
All right, so one more app service question. So follow up to that clustering question. Let's say we have deployed with a capacity of 1, and we set up scale out feature to auto scale based on certain demands. Is clustering enabled by default in that case? Lisa, you want to give that a try, or James?
Yeah, you could also set the instance count to a minimum of 2 to make sure that you keep the cluster defined. But yeah, as long as it's deployed within the virtual network, and there's a special property that we set once we identify that clustering should be enabled, and if that's present, then the JBoss instance will boot up with the cluster profile.
Okay, so folks, do keep those questions coming, and I see another question, which is good. So this is another fairly in-depth question. I personally also don't know the answer to this, so hopefully someone does. Is there a class such as traceflags.class in the MS Graph Java SDK? I want to make easy logs. Anybody know the answer to that?
So I think we can answer from a higher level. I don't know the exact specifics, but typically in Azure or any SDK for Java, we are instrumenting it such way the OpenTelemetry metrics and signals are emitted directly from the library itself. So we do that for all the Azure SDKs now, whether you're taking Cosmos DB or Service Bus or Event Hub SDK, or any of those SDKs, or even if you pick it up from open source, most of the open source libraries are also emitting those signals right now. Now, for the MS Graph Java SDK, I do not know. This is something that we can check, and it should be fairly easy for them to align with the Azure SDK as well, so that you get all your metrics and logs through the OpenTelemetry system.
All right, so let's keep it a little bit broad, and honestly, I'd like to ask some of these questions that are a little bit open-ended, maybe have a little bit of discussion amongst us. So let's start with the first question that I preceded with. It seems like Azure has many options for Java developers. What is the best way to navigate all these options with the limited time I have? Honestly, this is a question that all of these questions actually are questions that I've come across from customers. None of them are sort of made up, but this is a good one. And honestly, I don't know that I have a clear answer. So do you guys have a clear answer? We're adding lots of stuff. How do you figure out what do you want to use actually?
Yeah, well, I think it would help to explain how Microsoft Docs is organized a little bit. So for everything that we have in docs.microsoft.com, there will be an overview page. So whenever we stand up a new service or a new offer, there has to be an overview page. And if you combine the precept that we always have an overview page with the fact that we always have these landing pages for broad technology sections, like a Spring landing page and an Azure SDK landing page and a Java EE landing page, then you're able to kind of track where things are. So the combination of landing page and overview is a good way to get a broad view of what we've got going on across all of Java on Azure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that would drive your decision, though, for what to use in your limited time is based on what you already have. So like if you have, Jakarta EE apps, you're going to want to look at a potential Jakarta EE solution. If you've decided to refactor those applications and your expensive consultant tells you microservices are the way to go, you might want to look at, things like AKS or other, or Quarkus or Spring or technologies like that. But I think it's really driven by where you are today, how much do you want to spend, and where you want to be in the future. So there's lots of options where it's like minimal effort, like lifting and shifting an app, versus rewriting to a new platform. And depending on the requirements of that new platform and of the application itself, you can pick and choose from those different offerings on Azure.
All right. Anybody else want to add to that? How about you guys? Want to give it a shot?
Yeah, we can give it a shot, definitely. So I think everything Ed and James covered, they're all in order. So for a quick thing, if you have like Jakarta EE apps, if it is full profile, we do have a diagram. Perhaps we can show the diagram and then quickly answer it. Right,
yeah,
that's the easiest way. So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so share my screen here. So if you can push it through. So in this diagram, as you can see, Azure offers lots of options. So if you want to pull them together, make it easy on you, the ecosystem itself is very broad. We have many different technologies, Java SE, Java EE, numerous app servers, Spring, right, and other frameworks. Now, first of all, let's assure you, wherever you are in Java, any Java app, any app server, any framework, Azure supports your workload with an abundance of choice, and choice from IaaS to containers to fully managed service, right? And you can run any app architecture, from monoliths to containerized monoliths to all the way to microservices. So as you see in this diagram, we see these three patterns: IaaS, customers coming to containers, they containerize everything, or they come to platform as a service. Now, for a quick decision, when you're starting, if you're starting from, for example, Spring Boot or Tomcat, these are inherently portable, so you can really run anywhere. So that points to the Java SE box, right? And you can see the orange line heading to all the possible destinations in Azure. Now, if you have a Jakarta EE core profile, like say we are running a Quarkus, right? Quarkus is an example. Similarly for Open Liberty, you can deploy that on a virtual machine. You can deploy that on Kubernetes, Azure, Red Hat, OpenShift is there. We also have container apps. You can also run it in Java SE for app service. Now, if you have the full app server, like the Oracle WebLogic or Red Hat JBoss EAP or WebSphere, so that is the dark blue line, right? Both Reza and Head have worked a lot to make sure that they run on virtual machines. They also run on Azure Kubernetes service as well as the Red Hat OpenShift. Now, if you just want to focus on your WAR or EAR and don't have to worry about anything else, as Jason was explaining, you can push them to JBoss EAP on app service, right? That way, you don't have to worry about the underlying infrastructure and all the other features that come with it, and you simply deploy and focus on your business. So this chart gives you an easy way to quickly find out what are the possible options available to you.
All right, you're going to make this chart available soon?
It's going to be available soon. It's going to be available in social media. It's going to be available in documentation. It's also going to be available in MS Learn as well shortly. We are this is our 10th edition. Right? We have been trying to maintain this, and recently, because we have new services and all the good things that Reza, you and Ed were working on, we all brought them all in now so that you can take a look at it in a single view.
All right, so another pretty in-depth question. I'll ask it. I think Jason already made an attempt, but I think it's it's a worthy question for us to hear out in the recording also. Does the log monitor in Azure have graphics charting capabilities? We currently use Splunk, which does. So you want to answer that? Charting in basically custom charts and graphs in
yes.
your log monitor.
So in Azure, when you're monitoring all the services, whether it's a compute service or a database or a cache or messaging, they all pump in the logs and metrics into Azure Monitor. Now from Azure Monitor, you can take it anywhere. You can take it to Elastic, you can take it to Splunk like the way you explained, or you can take it to Log Analytics. So once you reach Log Analytics, we have a query language called a Gusto query language. Using the query language, you can retrieve the data sets that you like, depending on the job you're trying to do, right? Let's say you're monitoring or troubleshooting or keeping an eye on production. You'll have exactly what you're looking for, so you can build that graph, build that query. Once you have the query, the data comes in. Now you can build your custom dashboards as well. By default, the query also gives you some charts, but you can build your own, and then you can monitor. We have many customers have their custom dashboards, like a single pane of glass they can see from the beginning to the end. So that's for the logs and metrics. Now for application performance monitoring, all the services, they support application insights. We also support our partner solutions like Dynatrace, New Relic, AppDynamics, Grafana, Datadog. All of these are being supported, all supported in all the services. So you can enable them. Once you enable them, you can simply open up, for example, App Insights on New Relic portals, and you will see the pre-built dashboards. And the data is also there. So you can build your own queries and start building your custom dashboards to meet your business needs.
So I'm going to move on to a question that I know is popular. In fact, there's a number of customers that have asked exactly this question. So I figured this is a question we should address, in this forum. What is Microsoft doing about Log4Shell and Spring4Shell? Are any Azure Java services affected? Ed, do you want to take this one? You're on mute.
Sure. This is something we've taken, of course, very seriously. Microsoft runs on trust, and we have to have that trust come across to our customers as well. So as soon as this vulnerability happened, our Security Resource Center was on top of it, developing patches. And so we've got, let's take it from two different levels, the first-party services and the third-party services that our partners are developing with. For the first-party services, we had the mitigations rolled out as quickly, and they kept rolling. Remember that December, it was like the December to remember. It just kept coming and coming and coming. Every time we had a fix, we rolled it out again. But we also looked at our second party and partner services, and we had to work with Oracle and Red Hat and IBM to make sure that they had updated all their offers. In the case of older things, like that didn't have the proper version of Log4Shell involved, we applied the system property fix to turn off the injection of the JNDI attack. So it was something that we just got right on top of, and it's important that we continue to address this. Now for Spring4Shell, that was a more recent thing, and I haven't been involved in that, but maybe Candace, you can cover some of what we did for that.
I don't know what Microsoft is doing, but I do know that us on the Spring team, we were rolling out. We did get a little bit of warning on Spring4Shell as opposed to Log4Shell, which was a chaos, but we've been patching. We patched everything. I mean, I don't believe we had a vulnerability in the Azure Spring Cloud code. We patched anyway, just because sometimes it flags the scanner, even if it's not. So we just executed our regular process because we have all the things that power Azure Spring Cloud from Azure Spring Apps, from the VMware side have pretty tight release processes. So the other Spring products as well, you have access to this. I have the Spring engineers on chat if I need them. So
right.
We all work closely on that, and our vSource is also completely on that. We had meetings for like twice a day for Log4Shell in December. That December was a lot. So
yeah. One other thing I want to share with regard to our partners, each of our partners have their own security and patching policy. So in the case of third-party services, the customers that are running Oracle software on Azure, for example, need to take advantage of the support contracts and whatever that they have to make sure they're running the latest patch images and stuff. So we have the ability to run non-patched things for test and evaluation purposes, and we make it easy for you to do that. But you have to be aware, if you're running those non-patched images, you shouldn't. You should use your support contract with your vendor, IBM, Oracle, Red Hat, to get those patches correct.
Right, so we have just about 5 minutes left. I think I'd like to take this opportunity to sort of gather any final thoughts from our panelists today. I think that's just about right, for about 5 minutes. So you guys want to kind of share anything that you didn't get a chance to share in the session, perhaps, or anything that's top of mind for you with all the Azure and Java customers out there?
Well, if I could,
top of mind. Anything
yeah, if I could just quickly put out there that the ethos we're trying to establish with Java on Azure is Java on Azure your way, and that is not just a figure of speech. We actually invest a lot of time in making idiomatic APIs and user experiences that Java developers understand. So Maven plugins, IDE plugins, and even language development patterns with regard to our Java APIs that are exposed in the Azure SDK. So when you're comparing cloud vendors, look for who gives you the most idiomatic Java, and I think you'll find that Azure is the best in that regard.
Yeah, I think that is right. I think as you are embarking, you code, deploy, and scale, right? So you can code using any tools of your choice, whether you're using IntelliJ, VS Code, or Eclipse. You can use build tools like Maven, Gradle. And when you deploy, we showed you all the possibilities. There are many possibilities, and you can decide based on your business, compliance, security, technical, and cultural preferences where you want to deploy. Once you deploy, you can scale. Now, as you scale, security is extremely important. You can secure using virtual networks, so you can hide them away from the internet. You can align to your team structure to make sure access permissions are controlled using RBAC. Secrets are managed using Key Vault. Communications are secured using certificates originating from Key Vault. That way, it's really secure, right? Once it is secure, you can monitor them. You can accelerate your workloads. You can monitor using any tools and platform of your choice. We talked a little bit earlier, and you can accelerate your workload as well. You can accelerate using Redis cache. Right? Redis cache is available as a service. As you turn on, you get your app cache, and you can speed up your system. You can automate. You can automate end-to-end using any tools and platform of your choice, regardless where you are deploying. We showed you many options. And you can use things like GitLab, Jenkins, GitHub Actions, Terraform, Bicep. There are many options for you from automation as well. So this way you can code, deploy, and scale the way you like it and realize your scenario and take it to production.
Candace, James?
Yeah, I'll add one thing. It's really great to see, partners, Red Hat partners like Microsoft really investing in Java. Many of us have been in the industry in the Java space for, longer than we care to admit. And it's fantastic to see how it's evolving, to kind of meet the needs of customers as sort of the cloud and the cloud deployment models and the desire to have faster and better meets the innovations happening in the Java space. And so, yeah, just kudos to all of us, all of you, including Candace at VMware. These are large companies making big investments in Java, so it's great to see.
Yeah, we're all going the same place. We all want more. We have more Java adoption. We all win here, and that's really the thing.
Jason, you want to add anything? I noticed you
just
want
to echo what Ed said about Java your way on Azure. It is your way. So whatever service or tool it is that best fits your organization's needs and goals, there is no best option, right? We provide all of these options for whatever's best for your situation and your goals.
Exactly.
Excellent. So we are almost at time here. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today, and also our attendees for posting some questions and also showing up today. One thing I'd like to add as an ending thought, if you will, remember that all of us are pretty accessible. Asir, myself, Jason, Ed, Candace, James, we're all in this day and age, we're on social media, we're on LinkedIn, we have our emails published. There's no reason why you need to wait for a session like this to ask your questions, right? You can ask your questions pretty much at any time and engage with us. We're here to engage with you also. If you're not comfortable doing that, another pathway is, work with your Microsoft field person. They'll ultimately surface those questions to us and route us in if need be. So again, thank you very much for everyone for joining, and have a nice rest of your day.
That's good.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.